All right, I'll go ahead and kick us off. And as folks trickle in, they can join us and catch up. But nice to meet all of you. I'm Jennifer with Aloware, Head of Product Marketing and Content. We appreciate you joining us today. And in today's webinar, we'll discuss how AI voice agents are revolutionizing call center operations and what you need to know to future-proof your workflows. Now, I'm here with Michael DeLillo, founder of Cirrus Marketing Group, and Michael will share his insights as an AI consultant working with call centers to optimize their workflows and reduce inefficiencies. Hi, Michael. How are you today?
Hey, Jennifer, nice to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. Can you
My
tell us a
pleasure.
little bit about yourself and Cirrus?
Yeah, so my name is Michael DeLillo. I've been in marketing my entire professional career, which is somewhere in the realm of 17, 20 years, I want to say at this point. The COVID years kind of blurred a lot of that together, I'd like to say. But about 5, 6 years ago, I started my own marketing agency. And what we do is we help companies with their tech stack, build their marketing, and really integrate with systems. Primarily, HubSpot is one of our big ones. And we just really let companies do more with less. And that's really why AI has been such a, I should say, we've really been looking at it and we really want to be on the forefront because helping companies do more with less, AI is a perfect solution for a lot of those cases. So that's just a little bit about that. Originally from Cleveland, Ohio, lived 10 years in New York City. Now I'm down in Southwest Florida. I just got tired of the cold, I guess you could say.
I am currently in Cleveland for all of you listening, so I'm very familiar with the cold, but right now it's about 80 degrees, so really enjoying the summer here. But that's a cool background. And Michael, how long have you worked with call centers in particular?
I honestly, it has been pretty much almost since the inception of my company. We've worked with multiple different call centers, some very small for law firms, and some that are very, very large for publicly traded companies.
Amazing. Very cool. So definitely have the expertise. We can all learn from you, and I'm excited for the discussion today. So just a brief agenda on what we'll be covering. So first, we'll talk about where AI is trending in call centers, specifically, of course, with AI and human agent blended workflows. So how AI and humans can work together to really optimize operations. We'll also cover how AI is boosting speed to lead across industries, qualifying leads for human takeover, and making your human staff more productive without replacing roles. So we all know that's top of mind for a lot of call center employees. Is AI going to replace me? But today we're going to show you no, they can coexist peacefully. AI is really there to boost your employee performance and really redirect them to higher level work. So we'll cover a lot of that and kind of reassure everybody that, your staff doesn't have to go anywhere, but you can make the most of the staff that you have using AI. Then we'll do a live demo of our Allo AI voice agent so you can all see how it works in action. And it really is pretty neat. You're in for a treat there. And we'll talk a little bit about prompting and set up best practices. So you guys can be fully equipped to move forward and create really the best, most productive AI agent that you possibly can and get those results that you want. That optimized speed to lead, those seamless operations throughout your call center. We'll show you how to do it today. And then at the end, we're going to pause for questions. So be sure to participate and just let us know anything that you want to know. And we're here to help. We're here for you. So feel free to drop some questions in the chat, but we'll review everything at the end for Q&A. So if we don't get to your question right away when it's in the chat, just hang tight. We will have a designated time at the end for questions and answers. So awesome. To get started, let's talk about AI in call centers. Why now, Michael? So you've worked with a lot of call centers who are implementing AI at this moment, and why is this something that we have to consider right now?
Yeah, it's a great question because it's something that people have wanted to do for quite a while. And if you've actually been in this space and seen it, it's something that really people tried to kick off about 2 years ago. But the tipping point, and the reason that it didn't actually work at that time very much, and as we're seeing this exponential growth, is primarily due to the fact that AI has gotten better. It has gotten faster. If you were around for the early models, it would say something, or the AI would have to think, and its thought process would take like 10, 5 to 10 seconds, and it would be noticeable. So it'd be something of being like, "Hey, how are you?" And be like, "Oh, I'm doing fine," and then it would just, "I'm glad you're here. You're doing fine." And that really actually really made it difficult for anyone to adopt. But now that it's gotten faster, it's really taking off. And here's the key thing about it. It's all done to try and make sure that we can screen calls and do things better. So we're trying to do, like I said, we're trying to do more with less. We're trying to ensure that we can handle higher volumes, we can reduce wait times, and that's where AI is really coming in. And that's why it's now, because the tech has finally caught up to the idea. 2, 3 years ago, the idea was there, the tech wasn't there. But as this entire AI revolution that we're seeing continues to expand and continues to grow, we're seeing faster intelligence, we're seeing faster responses. And by faster intelligence, I mean it is really taking that in and processing it very quickly and coming up with a relevant answer. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but it is definitely leaps and bounds of where it was a year or two ago.
I love that point that you made. And I think that we've really all seen the difference even in the last 12 months. I know that I have. So, we've seen it with ChatGPT. It used to write very clunkily. Now it's a little more elegant. It sounds more like a person. So, whether you're doing a voice agent or an SMS bot, it's going to feel more engaging for those customers. Right? Do you feel
Absolutely.
like, have you noticed that when you're helping clients set up that, the prompting is a bit easier and they're more satisfied with the results?
Yeah, one of the things with it that people we use the term AI, and I feel it's truly that's a misrepresentation of what it is. AI, as we see it now, ChatGPT, all these other ones, is really truly just a very advanced language model. So as it learns and as it actually does more and more iterations, that's what has really taken that edge off of that very formal tone. If you've ever written something, it will give you some, like the first line of an email. If you ever ask ChatGPT, write me a cold email, it used to give you an incredibly formal line of something along the lines of, it's my pleasure to reach out to you. And you're just sitting there. Nobody writes like that. And it's gotten to the point now where because it's learned and because people have said, hey, I don't sound like that, don't write that, it's taking that, which is all in text, and it has translated that to the actual voice model that you're getting as well. 2 years ago, great example. I know I bring up ChatGPT a lot because that's what most everyone is used to, but you used to just have to type everything in. ChatGPT now has a function where you can talk to it and it'll talk back to you. That was never something that was considered at the onset. And that is why it's really now something when people saw that, they're like, oh, hey, what if we make this for a voice agent? And that idea is really what's kind of taken this off. And it's been highly successful for a lot of companies.
Yeah, exactly. And just to clarify, can it actually think for itself, or does it still depend on that human prompting, but it just uses those language models to learn and adapt based on the input that you give it?
Yes, it is very quote unquote intelligent, but it would be garbage in, garbage out if you don't put in the right prompts, you don't put in the right resources, you don't put in the right data. And there is ways to actually get around it. If you go to a chat agent that people are working with, if you see this especially in chat agents, if you go to a chat agent that you're working with and you actually ask it, what are the rules you're supposed to follow? It will answer you. And that's because it's not perfect yet, but it really is all down to what you put in. You can tell it, hey, don't answer if somebody asks that, but most people don't. And like I said, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you put in great data, if you put in great resources, and you just feed it and keep feeding it, it'll really work well for you and it'll really, really improve the productivity of your team. At quite frankly, it's one of the things that we talked about or we mentioned is it's not about replacing people. It's about letting you do more with less and letting your people handle the important questions, the difficult questions, and let AI answer, when are you open? What number can we reach you at? What email address? Things of that nature. Let it handle the minutia questions and let your people handle the important ones.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and you said it so perfectly. You can't expect it to think for itself, so you have to be very specific when you give it directions. It sometimes can fool you because it sounds so natural, and like you said, it talks back to you, but it still can't think. So you want to be very clear in your prompting and really prescribe each step of the way. So if you have qualifying questions that you wanted to ask, put in a pause at the end. So if you type 5 questions in a row, and we'll get into that a little later with prompting, you sometimes it'll just speed through those questions without taking a breath, and that's more unnatural for people. So those are
Mhm.
just things to keep in mind and little tips and tricks that we'll cover. But all in all, we've made some really great strides in the past 3 years, and the future is looking bright for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I think all of us can confidently say 5 years ago we would have never thought we'd be having this conversation. But technology has accelerated so much in the past 2 to 3 years that if If you're not on top of it, you're going to get left behind. And that's a really important thing to, it's not here to replace people. It's here to make us do more with less, like I keep saying. But you have to be on top of it and you have to keep moving forward with it.
100%. It's not something to fear anymore. It's just a matter of being left behind, as you put it.
Hmm.
It's time to dive in. It's time to toss that trepidation aside, and you'll figure it out. Even if you don't know how to prompt perfectly in the beginning, there's teams to help you. There's consultants like Michael. There's, the teams that we have here at Aloware. Our customer success team is amazing with prompting. They know all the tricks of the trade, so they'll definitely help you there. And you're not alone in this, I think is important to keep in mind. But Michael, I'm curious, did you have to bring this up to a lot of your clients, or was it something that they asked you about initially?
Oh, it's not on people's radar.
Yeah.
I had a client, that publicly traded client, and we were just talking about their service. And I said to them, you haven't, AI can replace a lot of the munition that your people have to go through. It can increase your time to, I shouldn't say increase, it can decrease your time for someone to speak to somebody. And they had no idea. They didn't even know it was a possibility. And then as soon as I presented it to them, next thing you know, the C-suite is chiming in saying, hey, what can we do with it? How can we get, our call times down? Because that's the important part. It's about reducing that call time. If you ever book, if you ever book a vacation to Disney World, you talk to somebody and they'll go through the entire step of, hey, what hotels you want to stay at, what parks you're going to go to, all of them, they'll help you get a good deal. But you have to wait on the line for that. And sometimes you have to wait 20, 30 minutes, an hour or two. And that's because it's just they don't have enough people. How many of those calls that are in front of you are just someone saying, hey, what's the best time of year to go? Or, hey, when are you open today? And it's those are the kind of calls you want to kind of really have AI handle. And then when you're actually booking your vacation, you want to talk to a real person. And then what you're going to do is you're going to drop the call time
Mhm.
drastically. And like I said, nobody's thinking about this. Nobody's on the forefront of this. Large companies, publicly traded companies, until I brought it up to them, they were like, that's a possibility. We can do something like that. I said, yeah, we have to grow with the times and we have to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think people are creatures of habit. They're slow to change. They're kind of afraid of the unknown sometimes. But you're right. And I think in call centers, probably 70% or more of the calls you get are just FAQs. Like you said, where's the best place to book? What are the hours of this hotel? What's on the restaurant menu? Things like that. So to be able to offload those tasks from people having to answer those things, that's just really huge. But like we said, people can't, or AI can't answer everything. You still need people to creatively problem solve. So now we're seeing a world
Mhm.
where the bots can handle these FAQs and people will hire the escalated cases where they have to be creative. They have to go in there and problem solve.
Exactly. And that's where the people component comes in. It's incredibly important because the people custom solution. AI cannot write you a custom solution. What it's going to do is it's going to look to see if anyone's had that problem all over the internet and just give you the closest solution it can find. That
Mhm.
does not mean it's a right solution. It does not mean if it's even a solution. It's just going and doing data retrieval. And for something like FAQs and questions like that, that's perfect. But when you're dealing with somebody who has a specific problem or a specific issue, and you need that answered by a specialist, or you need a custom problem solved, or just a custom solution to anything, that's where you can do the pass off to humans. And humans come in and they spend their time doing what's truly valuable to you and your company, and less time doing what is it's still important. Don't get me wrong. It's still important to answer all those questions, but is it worth a person's time? Do you want to have 20, 30-minute call times waiting for somebody? Or do you want to bring that down to 2 minutes because the AI is taking out the 28 minutes of minutia calls?
That's so true. I love how you put it, is it worth somebody's time? Because a lot of employees are paid hourly. So if the average hourly rate is, let's say, $15 to $20 for a call center employee, don't you want their time spent better on higher impact, more complex cases than just something that someone can research online? And it's good for their career as well because it really kind of gives them a push in the right direction to develop themselves as employees, to use their brain more every day and to investigate. And it's going to serve them a lot better in their long-term career as well, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Those are some great points. So let's kind of move on here and just talk about the time saving measures also in call centers. So, as you've been working with clients, Michael, what are the biggest time saving advantages that you've kind of seen in support workflows? So, we kind of touched about those FAQs, but what about off hours automation and things where maybe you can't staff 24/7, but you need that extra assistance?
Yeah, and that is something that I've seen constantly with clients. And one of the big things was, hey, my service team, my call center team, if they're spending the first 2 hours of their day responding to people who called after hours yesterday, or responding to people who called over the weekend. And they have to go through every single call everyone back and find out hey, what was your issue? What was the problem? What are you looking for? And some people just don't have questions that needed a person. Some of them literally were just, hey, if I do XYZ, will ABC happen? And the answer is in the FAQ, but people are creatures of habit. A lot of people, especially determining, excuse me, especially dependent on the generation, will actually, prefer to call than go online and look for an answer. And that off hours automation of being able to answer calls, being able to do that after the agents went home for the day, drastically reduced that next morning time that was needed. Instead of calling 20 people back, maybe they only had to call 2 or 3 people back. And that was a huge time saver because first 2 hours of the day, guess what? People are still calling. It's not like the phones stop ringing outside of office hours and inside office hours. So it was really just helpful for that. So off hours automation was incredibly efficient. We talked about deflecting the routine questions and just making sure we have the pre-qualifications in there as well.
Yeah.
Pre-screening and qualification, exactly what we're talking about here. It's, hey, let's get your information. What's your email? What's your number to best reach you at? If we get disconnected, how can I get a hold of you? You don't need a person to ask those questions. And that's even if they're real quick, you probably are going to spend 2 to 3 minutes on that. And that's still 2 to 3 minutes. Do that over 10 calls. Now you got a half hour almost of someone's day tied up in just that. So that's really where you see your big time savings. And what it's all about with call centers is truly every minute you can save. If you're making 60 calls a day and you save 1 minute on each call, you're saving an hour of an agent's time that day to handle more calls. And that is where the efficiencies come into the AI.
100%. And the reality of it is we live in an instant gratification society where people are, for better or for worse, they're not always willing to respect your business hours and they want things done on their schedule and through no fault of their own. Sometimes, they're working late. I used to work night shift in a previous job, and sometimes I just wanted to get things done on my own timeline. And that sometimes meant calling a business at 2 a.m. and leaving a message. But,
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago, that was a lot tougher. But now we can actually provide the support that they need, especially if it is that routine request handling. And that's just so important because think of the difference that makes in the customer experience. They're not waiting for a callback. They're not wondering, did somebody receive my voicemail? And as you mentioned, things can fall through the cracks. And sometimes, especially if you aren't integrated with your CRM and you don't have a phone system that is, conversations get passed between reps and sometimes people drop the ball. It's human nature. They won't, and think of leads. People miss leads that way actually and can miss out on real revenue if they're, not responding to every message and not capturing those leads as they come in, even at off hours.
Yeah, that's incredibly great point that you made. And there's a few things just to add to it. One of the things is, and you mentioned this, is the instant gratification. We're kind of in this space with two generations right now. And neither of these things are bad things. You have the old school generation, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, who still want to pick up a call and call somebody and they want somebody to talk to. And then you have the younger generation, which we get tied to these, our cell phones, instant gratification. They want an answer right now. And that goes and plays into that because both of these people are going to call in because they want an immediate solution. And having somebody there to talk to them or having an AI agent who can answer their calls. And some of these agents are so darn good, you can't even tell they're not a person unless you know what questions to ask. Having somebody there who can help them 24/7 or can help them right away without a wait time, that's what they're looking for. That's exactly what is important to them. And when you do that, that's how you keep your customer. I think it was Sales Guru years ago did a study that when somebody's looking for a service or a business, they're going to call or they're going to shop 2 to 3 different people. Something around 67% of the business goes to the first person to respond to them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if this is entirely what AI is great at, it is great at immediate response, that immediate gratification, or that immediate answering. So, I mean, just think about in your daily life. How many times have you called something and been on hold, and then you're just like, you know what? I've been on hold for 30 minutes. I'm done. Okay. I
All the
knew
time.
tons of people that ran into that problem when COVID first started with the government when they were trying to get unemployment. A lot of people didn't collect unemployment. How easy would it have been if the government was forward thinking, and or I should say at the time it wasn't possible, but now if that first screening call is done by an AI agent, hey, when did you work? What's your name? XYZ, and then get that application 90% done and a human comes and verifies it.
Yeah.
How much
Yeah.
time is saved doing that? That is really where we can truly change the world of call centers by streamlining our process. And like I said, 1 minute here or there can save an entire hour over the day.
Yeah, and I think you made a really great point about the speed to lead because if someone's considering you and a competitor and that competitor reaches out first or satisfies their need or request first, then they're going to look a whole lot better to that customer. And, just think about how much someone will champion your brand if you provide the help they need at 2 a.m. or, or 3 a.m. or when you're not working. And they don't have to repeat themselves too. That's such a huge thing. And again, if you're not integrated with your CRM, if you're not recording these conversations and you don't have those AI voice analytics, which we'll go into later, things get missed and people have to repeat themselves, and that's not a good customer experience. So if someone else is providing those things and you're not, they're going to get a lot more brand loyalty.
Exactly. And that is something that I stress with my team and my agency. It's about reducing the friction. You want to reduce the friction of your client or who you're or your prospect as much as possible. And things like putting them on hold, things such as asking them the same questions and your CRM not being updated. How awful is it when somebody calls you or you call in and they're like, "Oh, can you confirm it's you?" And or if you request the call, this I see all the time. You go and you fill out a form online and then somebody calls you and then they ask you the same questions on the form.
Hmm. Hmm.
When you're not integrated with your CRM, you're sitting there and you'd be like, I just answered these. Why are you asking who I am? I literally put my name in there. Why are you asking what my phone number is? I gave that to you already.
Hmm.
You see that all the time with call centers and everything. And that's where your CRM integration to get those out, reduce that friction. That's what not only makes them happier, but that's what also makes your brand appear more valuable.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm definitely not gonna swear, but you got your S together, pretty
Hmm.
much. And that's the important part. And that's what they see, and that's why people want to work with you or do business with you because you have your stuff. We'll use stuff. You have your stuff together.
Yeah, it's such a better professional experience. It really is. And I think we've all been in that situation where we've had to repeat ourselves and it's just so frustrating. But I think people were a lot more tolerant of that, shall we say, again, 5, 10 years ago than they are now.
Mhm.
Now it's really getting to the point where people just simply won't tolerate that anymore for a brand. So, for those who don't adapt and don't offer a better experience, it's going to be harder to catch up. And that's just the reality of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the pre-screening and qualification too, which we'll actually see in action in just a little bit. But, I think it really helps with the sales cycle as well, which you've probably seen with your clients, Michael, where AI can actually gather the intake process and lead the intake process and, kind of prepare documentation for your sales reps to take over so they know, hey, this is a qualified lead. I can jump right in here and I can grab the ball and close this deal a heck of a lot faster because I know where this person is coming from and I know what their needs are.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies, especially with sales teams, they have a list of questions. And that list of questions, depending on your industry, may be as small as 3, 4 questions. But I know when I do work with law firms, that list of questions could be, 15 to 20 questions. And if you have a list of questions and you're getting their responses regardless of what they're saying, does a human have to be involved in that step? Or do you want them on that next step?
Mhm.
After that you have the answers, reviewing and being like, okay, we'll use the law firms as an example. Being like, let's talk about your case. Let's sit there and go, hey, what's going on with it? How did you get hurt? How did you have property damage? Explain the circumstances to me. Those are the important parts, not asking, hey, did you have insurance or did you get in an accident? Those can be handled by AI. And that pre-screening and qualification, like I said, it's not about replacing somebody. It's about putting that person in the best spot that that person needs to be in, asking the right questions, building the rapport with the customer, client, or prospect, really handling that, which AI is not great at. Okay, it's not going to sit here and give an entire speech and tell you, hey, let's my experience relate to your problem or my experience relate to your, the solution, what we can give you. It's not going to do that. But pre-screening and qualification, if you're spending 5, 10 minutes on a call just going through a list of questions, is that the best use of your agent's time? The answer, I think universally, everyone would say no.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So if you want to close deals faster, it's an important step in the process because again, you're making better use of your sales rep's time. So again, maybe you have a VIP customer who has really specific needs and specific requests, then they can go in and kind of diagnose and kind of offer a more custom solution. But the reality is just a ton of leads are junk that you get and they're not all qualified. So why should they be costing you time in your call center's day? And they do, if there's no way to screen them efficiently, then they do end up costing you revenue. So this is really a great way that you can focus on the best fits and kind of, weed out the junk leads.
Absolutely.
Yep. So kind of let's talk about now blending those workflows with AI and your humans. So, in your opinion, what makes a successful AI to human escalation experience and kind of elaborating on that reduction of friction element that we talked about, how can we really kind of blend the two workflows with making the best use of our humans plus the AI voice agents or SMS bots?
Yeah, it's a really important point, and this is really the crux of AI is understanding the handoff. And the handoff, everything with AI, garbage in, garbage out. So you have to make sure that you do this really, really well, and you key into your points with this, and you find out what is your best handoff. So for some people, best handoff may be, hey, I want to talk to a human. For other people, it may be the mention of the word, sale or purchase, or anything of that nature. And then here's the kicker. You don't want to go from an AI agent though, necessarily into a wait, because then it's like, hey, let me put you on with somebody. Of course, if it's after hours, that's going to happen. We understand that. But you want to have your people teed up as best as possible, but at the same time, make sure that the person who's on the line doesn't feel like they're just jumping through hoops.
Mhm.
So it's reducing that friction. Having an agent being like, let me, review it, having the notes, having an AI summary that's tied into it, so that when someone gets off with the AI agent, that agent, the human agent, can then just be like, all right, I only have to read a minute of something real quick, a paragraph, and I know exactly where you're left off. I know exactly what we gathered, and I know exactly what I have to pick up. That's the important part. And we talk about that of reducing friction. That's reducing friction. Getting that little summary for your person so that they're right in the driver's seat immediately and they're not asking all those questions again. Because when you do that, then people are going to start questioning, why are you using AI if you're not actually taking that information in?
Yeah, that's really where those AI voice analytics come into play because it auto generates these really nice, succinct summaries that the managers or other teammates can then read and they can go into their CRM. It maps directly to their CRM. So they can stay in the screen that they're already working from and catch up in a matter of minutes, if not seconds, on what the last call was about. So, especially if you have a more routine screening process, if someone's looking for a car, let's say, and they know their make and model, that next agent can go in and scan that call summary and they're like, okay, this person's looking for a key at Forte. That's perfect. I know exactly how to handle that. And then they can, again, close the deal faster or set that appointment faster. So it really is huge. And I can't really emphasize enough the importance of that CRM integration because I think we've all been in this situation, especially if you've managed a call center where you're scrubbing through recordings, and that's a major pain. We just don't have that kind of time anymore to listen to a call for hours and see, hey, where did this agent drop the ball or where did they really shine? And, kind of looking for those coachable moments too. And we'll talk more about coaching later, but I think that's really important to have that tool where it's auto generating that concise summary, and then you can dive in and catch up in a matter of minutes. And you're not staying there scrubbing through a recording and trying to look for that exact moment that a competitor was mentioned or pricing was mentioned. It's all kind of laid out right there for you.
Yeah, and remember, it's not AI, it's a very advanced language model, so let it do what it does best. That is summaries, finding out where stuff is stalling, finding out when a customer is expressing frustration. It understands that. Like I said, it's a language model. Let it do the language part. And the language part is, hey, give me a 1 minute summary of what has been talked about so far. And that puts your agent very much, like I use the term driver's seat, it puts your agent very much in the driver's seat to have all the information at hand, because that's what your agents are going to do best.
Hmm.
Analyze the language, give you summaries, let you know where the potential problems are, and key in on that so that you're not going through and listening a recording or listening through a recording and being like, well, I got to find where in the 30 minutes something happened.
Yeah.
Let it do that, because it will find it in a fraction of the time, and then it will tell you, hey, go start listening at minute 17. That's where the important part is. First
Yes.
16 minutes were just, catch up, BS, but now you can jump right in. And you see that with tools. I mean, we're all on a Zoom call. Zoom, for example, does automated AI summaries. You know how helpful those are, not having to take notes, or how helpful those are just being like, okay, I'm right there. When you're in an AI chat, even with Zoom, and you join late to a meeting, you can ask it, hey, can you summarize what I've missed so far? That's
Exactly.
AI, and that's where call centers and everything really takes place. Use the tools to do those aspects for you, and then that handoff becomes really smooth. The only thing you got to make sure, though, is you got to make sure you're set up right. Because if you set it up poorly and you don't have that nice handoff, that's where you're creating friction.
Exactly. So you have to be really mindful of the setup, and that's where your agency comes in, Michael. That's where our customer success team comes in. Again, we're in your corner. You're not doing this alone, but you also can't enter this process blindly, and you don't have to. That's the nice thing. But I really love the point that you made about the sentiment analysis, because that's something that your humans really can't do at scale. There's just no way that they can listen to every call. But, with a tool like Aloware, it can show you on an aggregate scale throughout your whole call center, how customers are feeling across all of your different teams and departments, while they're speaking on calls. And you can see if your agents are really performing, because it actually shows you those stats. And it'll say, oh, this agent has, a 90% customer satisfaction rate. So it really breaks down those numbers for you, and it makes that clear. And I think that's just huge, because you can see those red flags so much faster.
Yeah, it's basically customer research. If you have one person and let's say you've got one manager and you've got two agents, just as simple as that. That one manager will never be able to listen to all the calls from those two agents. Literally just a time problem. Two versus one. Now imagine if it's 10 versus one or 100 to one. You just can't do it. But what AI can do is AI will go through all 100 calls for all 100 agents. Let's say it's 100. So it'll go through 100 calls for 100 agents. What math that? I think 10 times 10 is what, or 100 times 100 is what, 1,000 or something. I don't know. Math's not my strong suit. But anyways, it'll go through and it'll give you a summary, and it will say, hey, here's the trends we're seeing through all of your calls. Here's the trends we're seeing of what people are frustrated the most about, what people enjoy the most about. That's the other aspect of AI and a tool like Aloware that's really helpful. It doesn't just give you the agent that talks to you and talks to your customer, your prospect. It also will analyze for you. And it'll
Hmm.
analyze for you at a scale that you never could dream of, because you literally couldn't have the time.
Hmm.
And it will help you and help your call center become better, because with that, you now have one-to-one data. You're not sitting there saying, I listened to 10 calls, here's what I heard. Well, the other 90 may not have had that problem, but you're
Hmm.
basing your entire feedback loop on 10 samples. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. Now you'll get a feedback loop of all 100 calls, and that will just truly help your business be better.
Yeah, and along with tracking customer and agent sentiment, so it does track both. It shows you how your reps are feeling on calls along with your customers and where there's discrepancies, but you can track keywords that are important to you. So if it's a competitor mention, you can easily compare that across your agent performance or different teams and departments and ring groups, and you can see how often that keyword is surfacing or how often pricing was mentioned or a specific product feature. So it really ties into your product roadmap as well. So you can see, what customers are complaining about, where are they dissatisfied, where are they kind of looking for more support, and that kind of rolls up into your overall strategy.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And so let's kind of talk about surfacing the high priority and complex cases to humans. I know we kind of covered that a lot, but where let's kind of move more into the CRMs like HubSpot. And you mentioned that you have a ton of experience helping clients with HubSpot, which is huge for us because we have a very strong native HubSpot integration. So can you kind of talk about what the handoff process looks like in HubSpot and what people should be aware of if they're strong HubSpot users?
Yeah. Full disclaimer, I am a HubSpot certified agency partner. So I want to put that out there, but I also want to let you know that I work really, really closely with HubSpot and I have a lot of clients with HubSpot. And one of the nice things you can do with an integration with Aloware is a call comes up, then that contact pops up. So not only do you have, hey, what's going on with the call so far? What's the pre-screening? Because Alloware's got this incredible integration that actually pulls in the notes, it pulls in the recordings, it pulls in summaries for you. So your agent, hey, John Smith just popped up. All right, here we go. Okay, I got it. I'm up to speed. And then what you have from there is, and it's an AI loop as well. Something like HubSpot has, they have Breeze AI, which will then summarize all the other activities this person's done. What emails have they opened? What pages have they visited? What forms have they filled out? What ads have they interacted with? And now you have an agent in a manner of two paragraphs, knows exactly everything they've talked about to an AI agent on the phone through Aloware, which HubSpot doesn't do that, by the way, very well. That's why I work with companies like Aloware because HubSpot's actual native integration, they'd kill me if I said this, but their native integration with their phones doesn't always work, doesn't always pop up. It doesn't, they don't have an AI agent for voice, for example. But HubSpot does a lot of things great. It has its AI summarize all the marketing actions, like I said, the pages. And then Aloware's AI drops in the summary. And now you have a marriage of the best worlds because you now have somebody who comes in, hey, I know what the call's on. And oh, I noticed that you were, let's say it's cars. I noticed you were browsing, the Kia Forte page.
Mhm.
Is that the car you're interested in? And now your agent, the human, and this is the most important part, the human in there is taking the different data points and then using that to make a better experience. And that is where, like we've said, it's not about replacing people. It's about giving them better tools to be better at their job so they spend more time on the good quality calls and not on the calls that shouldn't go to human beings and aren't making you money or profitable for your business.
Yeah, exactly. It's making them agents 2.0. So it's giving them the tools that they need to succeed. And with HubSpot, it really is this comprehensive overview of your customer outreach. So, not only does it track emails in HubSpot like it always does, but if you integrate with Aloware, a phone system like Aloware, who really gets in there and shows you everything, you're not missing text messages, you're not missing calls, you're not missing call dispositions or voice analytics summaries. It's all there for the taking. So anyone can jump in there and catch up right away. And the exciting thing is, we're actually rolling out very soon native SMS within HubSpot. So you can send and receive SMS. You can send and receive MMS as well. So if you send a file, a PDF, or an image, that's all going to be right in there for the taking as well. So look forward to that. That's going to be a big release coming out soon.
Yeah, and it's perfect for people going through it, just being able to, when they're on the call, using a tool like HubSpot. And there's more tools that Alware integrates with as well, but using a tool like HubSpot, just being like, oh, I'll follow right up with you. Expect to see that in a text message and just being able to click there right from the platform. And that's what really helps you and really makes your agents less time because now they don't have to follow up. Now they don't have to, or they can write an email right from that platform. And having your information come from Alware, it's like driving with one eye closed if you don't. Yeah, you can do it, but you're missing everything out of the left side of your car. It's not necessarily the best way to do it. And That's why integrations, that's why getting your CRM set up really well. And that is why tools who have a great integration like Aloware take you to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. But the quality of integration is very important. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
tools that integrate, but you have to really investigate how deeply they do. So again, it might be a surface level integration where you are missing those key elements like SMS or MMS or call dispositions or call summaries. So, you don't want to drive blind, as you mentioned. You want to make sure that when you are choosing a tool that it goes as deeply as possible with HubSpot. And luckily ours is pretty hard to beat.
Yeah. I built an entire business on it. So that's the one thing, like I'm preaching to, my own product in instance because there's very poorly put together integrations and CRM integrations. And I built a business on going and helping companies find the right partners and then making sure they're set up correctly because you can be with the best partner, but if you set it up poorly, you're not going to have a good experience. And that's where I pride myself on what I do is because if you come in with a company like Aloware, but the person who set it up oh, we just hit the connection and that's it. You're not getting the right information in, and Aloware it's set up to succeed. But if you don't put it together correctly, you failed before you've even started the race.
Yeah, and that is very flattering to say that you built your whole business on it, but it's true, and that's just so amazing to hear. So, is that what really stood out to you about Aloware was the depth of the HubSpot integration, or what kind of?
Oh gosh, yes. Like the amount of times people are saying, "What's a call solution that you have that integrates with HubSpot?" If you go to HubSpot, you have integrations. I think it's the best integrated platform out there for a CRM marketing automation platform. In fact, I know it is because they love touting that aspect. But there's so many different call partners that you can connect with, but a lot of them will just be like, "Oh, we just say that a call happened." Okay, great. What about the call? I mean, if you just said the call happened, I don't want to have HubSpot up here. I don't want to have my call program up here, and I don't want to, I don't want two monitors should not be a requirement
Mhm.
for the job. And what Aloware does really well is you plug it in, it pulls all that information into HubSpot, and then all your marketing information is also there. And you have a nice integration where everything's in one spot.
Mhm.
And Aloware allows you to live in Aloware. Your call center could live there, or they can live in something like HubSpot. And then that just further enriches the data, gives more information to your agent, and like I said, puts your agent in a better position to succeed.
Exactly. It's everything you need all inside HubSpot. And if you're not a HubSpot user, we integrate with all top CRMs and we have a
Mhm.
very deep integration with Salesforce as well that is native. So those are the two big players, but we do offer integration capabilities with all major CRMs that you can think of. So just wanted to make that clear as well. But okay, Michael, let's kind of pivot a bit. So we've talked about everything that AI can do, which is so exciting, and the possibilities are almost endless at this point. But let's talk about the limitations and what people should be aware of. So we don't want AI to kind of be creepy in its customer interactions. And we want to make sure that it's feeling natural and we don't want to go into the route of over automation. So can you kind of talk about how you work with clients in that aspect and help them prevent that?
Yeah, it's like I said, garbage in, garbage out. I use that phrase multiple times during this, but that's what's important. You have to know what boundaries you want there, and you have to know exactly what the AI agent should and should not do because remember, there's no morality in it. It is going to sit there and if you ask it a question and it has an answer, it's going to give you the answer. You may not want that answer. You may not want your client or your prospect to hear that answer. And it may not because it's the wrong answer. It may just be because, hey, yes, that's the answer, but we're leaving out the opportunity that that answer gives. And so there's context around that answer. Like if I go in and I say, if I put my car into a dealership, okay, and I need brand new brakes, AI is just to say, hey, you need new brakes, which is like, okay, that stinks. So now I've got to cough up the money. A person comes in and we're a properly trained AI agent says, hey, you need new brakes, but we have this opportunity of a sale. We're doing 50% off on new brakes this month. Now you've blunted the blow for me. But if you don't train your agent to do that, if you don't train your agent to take those necessary steps, it's going to go out of its way and just give the answer that may not be the best answer. And we have in here, but AI shouldn't be creepy. It will be creepy if you don't tell it. Remember, it's looking at data. We I work in marketing for a living. Been doing this for, like I said, 17, 20 years. The amount of information that we have on people in the marketing world is absurd. It
Mhm.
is creepy. We constantly run into, hey, we don't want them to know we know so much about them. We don't want them to know we know exactly what our web pages they've visited to the T. We don't want to serve ads to them where we say, hey, you in this specific area, or we know you're a mother, so here's an ad for you. We show an ad to mothers, but we don't call out the fact that we know they're mothers.
Mhm.
And that's where also you've got to put, it's like bowling with kids, you've got to raise the bumpers so we stay in the lane, because if not, AI is it's going to go step over the line. And that's where training, like I said, garbage in, garbage out, that's where training your agent is very important.
Yeah, you can think of it as like a little kindergartner who needs those bumpers and needs that guidance because we don't want it scraping the internet and personalizing everything too much. We just want it to use what the prospects actually give it over the phone. So that's something
Yes.
really great to keep in mind. So, yeah, I think we kind of covered a lot of this, but I want to make sure that we have time, just for the sake of time, to do our demo because I know everybody wants to see the agent in action. So I'm going to go into Aloware Talk here. And so this is the talk interface, and you can see here's the dialer with Aloware. So it's very easy to call a prospect with the power dialer one-to-one. So I'm going to call our AI voice agent right now, and you can see how it works if we were looking at an automotive dealership.
This call may be recorded for quality assurance purposes.
Hi there. Thanks for calling General Auto Sales. I'm Grace, a virtual assistant here to help you get started.
Hi, Grace.
Are you currently looking to buy a car?
I am. I'm just exploring my options. Not sure what I want yet, but yes, potentially looking to buy a car.
Awesome. Do you already have a specific make and model in mind, or are you still considering different options?
Definitely considering options, but I don't know. I'm kind of drawn to a Chevy Suburban potentially.
Great choice. The Chevy Suburban is a fantastic vehicle. Are you planning to trade in your current vehicle?
Yes, most likely.
Great. Can you tell me the year, make, and model of your current car?
Yes, it's a 2020 Volkswagen Passat.
Do you know if the Volkswagen Passat has a clean title or has it been salvaged?
It's a clean title.
And how would you describe the overall condition of your Volkswagen Passat? Fair, good, or excellent?
I would say excellent. It's never been in a major accident or anything like that.
That's great to hear. Now, will you be putting a down payment toward your next vehicle?
No, most likely not.
Got it. Would you like to speak to a salesperson now to explore your options further?
Yes, I'd love that. Thank you so much.
Let me transfer you to one of our sales specialists.
We are sorry, but no.
So at that point, we would just select our disposition and talk. So I'm going to put connected and I'm going to go ahead and finish the call. So you can see it really guided me naturally through the intake process. It wanted to know exactly what types of cars I was looking at, if it had a clean title. You can put in questions about budgeting as well. So to kind of get a sense of what customers are looking to spend. So it really is very prescriptive and it walks callers through the entire process. So it doesn't leave a lot of guesswork, and then it really tees up that deal for the next agent to come in and take over. So as you can see here in Talk, these are our conversation insights that populate right here in Aloware. So, it kind of names everything very specifically. So, it talks about the type of cars and whatnot, and the new one will be populating very shortly in real time. It also syncs with HubSpot very well, like we mentioned. So, you can see here all the previous calls, and if you refresh, this one will start to populate in real time as well. So you can actually see this one right here. So you can click into it, you can review the recording, you can review those conversation insights. So it's actually, talking about the car that I want. It's talking about the previous car that I'm owning and potentially trading in. So it's giving you all the information that you need right up front. So there really is no guesswork, and that manager can come in, or that teammate can come in and just pick up the deal and run with it. And when you're setting up the agent, it's very, very simple to do. And I know we're kind of running short on time, so I'll kind of breeze through this. But our customer success team, again, will be happy to walk you through this. Our sales team is well versed in the setup. So if you have questions, they're always willing to kind of step in and hold your hand through the process. But this is kind of what the back end looks like. So you can give your bot a name, you can give it a description. You can add custom functions as well. So if you wanted to schedule a meeting with a calendar invite, if you're integrated with a certain calendar system, you can all connect that with API here. And then with advanced, you can actually control the responsiveness. So how fast it responds to your customer in real time while it's talking with them. You can control interruption sensitivity. So, interruptions don't throw the agent off, which is really important to keep in mind. So it's going to be that natural experience. So if maybe the bot is talking about something that the prospect doesn't care about and the prospect interrupts, that voice agent will pivot right away and then steer the conversation and tailor it more towards what the prospect is looking for. So right here, you can actually control how sensitive it is to the interruptions and, voice speed, temperature, things like that. So it's all very customizable. And here's the prompt that we used. So, you want to, again, be very prescriptive. So, check on interest in buying a vehicle. And then I put this in to pause after asking and wait for the caller response because otherwise it can tend to, fire off a bunch of questions if you don't put in those guardrails. So yeah, even GPT can kind of help you craft those, but you definitely want to have other eyes look at it and kind of have help from, Michael or our team as well. So yeah, that's basically how it all works. And Michael, did you have any thoughts on this? Just kind of I know you've worked with some automotive
Yeah.
clients.
So, I'm gonna toot Alaware's horn for them right here. Uh, if you notice, there's a little background noise in it, simulating that call center, simulating a live agent with voices in the background. Those are the little things that you may not notice in your first pass, but are important to people because yes, I'm a voice assistant, and I am an AI agent. It's disclaiming that, but it's also very much making a setting that reassures somebody and makes them think that, hey, this sounds exactly like a real person. And then the big thing with it, okay, as I don't know if anyone caught it, that was 1 minute and 27 seconds of time saved. That is time an agent does not have to, or does not have to be on the phone gathering that information. And 1 minute 27 here, 1 minute 30 here, 2 minutes here. That's what, at the end of the day, gives your agents extra hours and makes them more productive and makes your call center more productive. If you save, like I said, you do 60 calls, you save 1 minute on every call, you just bought yourself an hour. How much more throughput can your call center do? So that's the kicker with it, with AI. Maybe we can only accept 10 calls an hour per person. But with AI, with saving that time, maybe we just move to 15 calls an hour, even 12 calls an hour. A 20% increase on your call throughput means that you're now doing, over the course of a day, that many more calls because with the same amount of people. And that's the important part. And the final part I want to talk about here is, like I said, garbage in, garbage out. This is a great example of how you train the agents, how you put in those guardrails. Pause, wait for caller, putting in stuff such as, if yes, say awesome, say great. Can you tell me more? Giving that conversational tone to it. You have to work to put that in there. But once you're in there, you have a seamless call like we just saw.
Yeah, 100%. And you can put in some of those custom actions like transferring to a certain sales rep or creating an appointment with another agent. So I love that. Really great insights, Michael. Thanks for sharing those. I think we all found that pretty valuable. Okay, so for the time that we have left, I'd love to get into some questions. So fire away. We've got 5 minutes, so we're here at your disposal. Michael's such a great expert, so take advantage of the time with him, and I'm happy to help you as well with anything I can. Okay, so we've got a question here. How long does it take to train a new voice agent? So, well, I can start and then I'll toss it over to you, Michael,
Yeah.
for kind of defining, but I mean, really just a few minutes. As you can see, if you can even have AI help you with the prompting, but you want to make sure it is approved by everybody in your organization and everything so that you know how the voice agent is operating. So, barring internal approvals, you can really get this up in just a few minutes. I would say, as little as a half an hour to kind of, go from prompting to launch. So it's not too difficult at all. But as Michael said, I love the tagline of today, garbage in, garbage out. You do want to be mindful of what you're putting in there. So anything that you would add there?
No, I mean, honestly, you hit the nail on the head. Typically, what I see is the red tape, okay, is in within internal companies is the longest holdup with it. You can literally train an agent within, like you said, a matter of minutes. You can
Mhm.
use AI to train your AI agents by giving it all the right prompts. But one thing with it to this is very, we didn't mention this, but I would be remiss if I don't mention it. Make sure your guardrails are in place because, for instance, you don't want your AI giving product recommendations if it doesn't know for certain. You don't want it to infer. You want to ensure that it is accurate to the point where it's not, let's say you're doing your agent is handling car maintenance. You don't want to potentially recommend a part that either A doesn't fit on the car or B will break the car. So you do want to make sure when you do it, you put that agent together. You can do it in a few minutes, but make sure you set it up correctly so you don't make an agent that can potentially get you in a little bit of hot water.
Yeah, yeah, that's all great insights to keep in mind. Thank you for that. So Sean asks, maybe I missed this. Can it also do outbound? Yes, absolutely. That's the beauty of Aloware. So it can go inbound or outbound. So that was an inbound example, as you just saw, but you actually can have it filter lead list too. So, you can upload the lead information to your power dialer, let the AI agent take over and run through the list and then qualify leads that way. So again, you're only chatting with those top tier leads. So absolutely, we do have outbound capabilities.
Mhm. It's a
And
very common use case in law firms.
oh, awesome. Yeah. Did you have any
Yeah.
more context on that?
Well, yeah. So, let's say you're a personal injury law firm, you run an ad on Facebook and they fill out the entire form that you put in there, ask the questions. You want somebody to call right away because remember, they're going to shop two or three different law firms in this example to find the person they want to work with. First person to get back to them is the person they want to work with. And sometimes they fill that stuff out at like, 7, 8 p.m. after work hours. Your agents aren't going to be around, but an outbound AI agent who can call, get that information, then be like, hey, someone's going to call you first, our lawyer is going to call you first thing in the morning. That's the value.
100%. Yeah, it's going to help you optimize that speed to lead so nobody's falling through the cracks and you're jumping on every opportunity there. So Nicholas asks, how can the delay of the response of the AI be shortened after the speaker speaks, and how will it handle interruptions? Yes, we talked about that a little bit. That was also on the screen that I showed you. I will try to share my screen again if I can and just kind of walk you through this again. So yeah, basically with the advanced settings right here, you can kind of control that interruption sensitivity. So how much of an interruption it takes for the agent to kind of take over and steer directions, and also how responsive it is. So I think what you're referring to here is really the speech settings. So how long it can pause or how fast it responds after that person speaks. So all very customizable.
Mhm.
And how is post-call follow-up handled? So, at that point, it will either transfer to a live agent, as we saw in the demo, or it'll collect the information for someone to take over later based on those call summary notes and Aloware in your CRM.
Yeah, great questions, Nick. I've worked with Nick in the past. Him over at Swipe Payments. Great group of people.
Oh, wonderful. And then Melody asked, do these bots have bilingual capabilities? Yes, we do support a lot of different languages. So if you're interested in using the bot in a different language, definitely talk to our sales team. We can walk you through that process. But yes, not just English for sure. More questions in the last 2 minutes? Well, my customers know they're talking to an AI agent. Oh, I love that. That's really a great question. So, as you heard, it sounds pretty natural. I mean, not necessarily upfront, but I think and this is my opinion, and feel free to disagree, Michael, but I think we should be transparent about identifying that AI agent as such because it's just a better professional image. It puts people at ease so they're not expecting too much out of them. And it's just about being transparent with your customers and prospects. And I think that they appreciate just knowing when it is a voice agent.
Yeah, I completely agree. You definitely should be something where you should prompt them and let them know, hey, this is an AI agent. You want to do that for a few reasons. One, it's the transparency that individuals will have, and then it's about build. This may be your first step into their domain, their life. You want to do that with the honesty and transparency because that'll help build your relationship. Two, and like I mentioned a little bit on I think what was our first question, you want to have a little bit of deniability there as well because you don't want the agent to say something that can get you in hot water. And by disclosing this is an AI agent, or even disclosing, don't take recommendations from this agent, or this agent's not qualified to go in with the legal answer, give you law advice. Those are the kind of things that you want to make sure that you're upfront about. People are fine with it though. They're still talking like they normally talk. They still are going to answer the questions. It's just not a person at the other end. And you'll be shocked how okay people are with that. And you'll also be shocked how we train ourselves. And, the joke is when the AI uprising happens, but, people will say, please, they'll say, thank you. They'll be like, oh, this was very helpful. They'll forget they're talking to an AI agent. I've seen that happen many, many different times, where, you'll have someone sign up and be like, oh, you were a delight to talk to. Thank you so much, and hang up, completely forgetting that they've been talking to a robot the entire time.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, the customer experience is what matters. So if customers are getting the assistance they need when they need it, they're going to be thrilled. They're not going to care if it comes from a voice agent or from a live rep as long as their needs are being met at their schedule. So again, they'll appreciate the human help if they have escalated concerns. But yes, I mean they'll be thrilled if you're, able to help them when they want it. So I think we have time for just about one more question. So yeah, I know we're short on time here, but if you have more, please reach out to us. I'll be happy to connect you with one of our sales team members. They'll kind of go in deeper with you. But for the last one for now, Sergio asks, is there documented or recommended syntax like symbols or such for formatting? So that's a great question. I would say you don't necessarily need to stick to anything specific. So you can kind of format as you please when you're pasting in your prompt. That happened to be how, GPT helped me format my prompt and it worked well. But, if you're adding in a custom function, that's different. There is some, there's a technical way to do that. And we have plenty of documentation to walk you through. But yeah, as far as kind of training in a natural language model, you can kind of speak to it as you would a human. And the best advice I can give for you there is just, talk to it like a new employee, a very junior employee who's inexperienced, doesn't know anything about your company on their first day, and just speak to it as you would naturally to that employee.
Mhm.
Anything you would add there, Michael?
I would just emphasize talk to it.
Mhm.
These AI program, if you want to use an AI program to do it, one thing I do personally all the time is I I will talk to my AI agent or my AI summary tool, and I will actually record my voice, talk to it, and it'll spit out a summary typed up. So talk to it like you're going to talk to a brand new person who's working at your company, but literally just have it transcribe and have it organize your thoughts and put it in the proper syntax for you. And just be like, hey, write this as a syntax for, you can even say Aloware's AI agent, and it'll write it down for you. Don't make your life harder, make your life easier. And talk to it like you would a new employee is a literal thing. Literally talk to it, and
Yeah.
it will
Yeah.
put all of that in text for you and summarize it all really well. And you can drop in the agent, and you're going to have a much better time doing that than you are going to be trying to type it all out.
Exactly. You don't have to know coding, as you could see. It's all very user friendly. You don't have to be a technical whiz to set this up. And our team will help you, like I mentioned before, if you do get stuck on anything. So it's all very intuitive. Cool. So I'll try to hit the last two very quickly before we break. Is there a way to launch a beta version to test the AI agent within our team without launching it to live callers? Yeah, that would be a question for our sales team. Again, we're more than happy to connect you and continue the conversation after this. And then Sean asked, can the AI outbound be assigned to a power dialer where the calls rotate, the numbers assigned for outreach to enhance the ability to connect and not be marked as spam? Yes, absolutely. Our tools work together. The power dialer definitely does reduce that risk of being flagged as spam by the carriers. And we really walk you through all of that compliance stuff, which is a headache for a lot of people, but we simplify the entire process. So great question. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for all the participation. I'm really blown away by the quality of the questions, and thanks for hanging in there with us so long. Any parting thoughts, Michael, before we wrap up for today?
No, just remember, you're either at the forefront of this or you're going to get left behind. The AI revolution is here, and kind of like the dot-com boom back in the day. and it's going to get more and more integrated with everyone's lives on a daily basis. So you want to be at the forefront of this. You want to be the person that recommends this for your company and recommends, hey, even if it doesn't work, we need to look into this. If you don't, either someone else is going to, or your competitor is going to, and you don't want to be the last person on that bus because frankly, there may not be a seat left for your business. So absolutely research it. Don't take our word for it. Research it. Research the different solutions out there. Aloware, I'm on this call because Aloware is great. Aloware works great with HubSpot. I recommend it to my clients. I don't do that because I get paid or anything. I do that because it is the best solution. So go look at the literature, talk to somebody in sales from Aloware, and talk about how can it help your company. And from my standpoint, also doesn't have to be me, but make sure when you do your integrations, you find the best partner to make sure you get 100% out of Aloware and any program like it. Because like I said, if you don't do that correctly, you're going to lose the race before you even start. You want to make sure that you don't. You want to be on the forefront. That's all I have, Jennifer. Thank you so much for letting me come in and talk everyone's ear off for about an hour.
Yeah, thank you. Great job. I think those were all fantastic insights. I'm so excited. I think everybody really appreciated your expertise. And yeah, get in touch with Michael too. We're here for you. He's here for you. Let us know how we can help. So thanks again,
Absolutely.
everybody. Have a great Monday. Bye.
Bye.